Well, it did it again.
I cannot hear you.
No, I think we're live.
Yeah, we are live.
Yeah, we are. The video did it for us again, didn't it? I'd like to say thank you for everybody for tuning in this afternoon, and welcome to the Blue Room. It's the first episode now of the Blue Room. It probably will be an episode by the time I've finished, with the amount of disasters that we'll probably have. Yeah, I'd like to thank people tuning in live, also people watching the recordings. Likewise, I would like to thank our panelists. Now then, we've lost one of them. Right, we're back. Sorry, Ava, we lost you. I'd like to thank our panelists today. We'll be discussing change and recovery in service departments and corporate housing across Europe and North America. I'd like to thank also the sponsor today, Integrum PMS. The structure today will be roughly that we'll introduce ourselves. We'll then go into what's been happening in our various countries, in the sector, in our countries, and in our businesses. So far in this, let's face it, disastrous year. We'll have a very short break where I'll run a Saba video. It's only 30 seconds, so don't dare go and make a cup of tea in the meantime, because you'll miss things otherwise. And then we'll go on to where we are right now, the challenges that we're facing, and how we can move forward, because of course that's what we all want to try to work out. So once more, thank you to the panel. We've got Yolanda. Yolanda, I've never actually pronounced your name, your surname. How you? What your? I'll kill it.
Blomjaus. Yes.
Blomjaus.
You mean it's not Blomjaus? It's not Blomjaus?
Blomjaus. I've had everything though, don't worry.
Yolanda Blomjaus from Situ Benelux. We've got Rebecca Nahr from My Relo Solution in Canada. Ava Martinez Marzal.
Thank you.
From U Stylish Barcelona in Spain. Bianca van der Zee from Apartment Service in Germany. Last not least, Jamie Masler from Corporate Housing Associates in the United States. I'm Richard Majewski from ESSA Consultancy in the UK. And yeah, let's do a quick wave. Different from wine time where we can all raise our glasses, but I'm sure in time we'll sneak an occasional glass in here, although it is far too early. Those have been the brief introductions. But may I please go around the panel, just asking for your own introductions of your businesses. So if we could start, please, with Rebecca, and then with Bianca.
Yeah, Rebecca from My Relo Solution, as introduced from Richard. So we are based in Canada. We service currently Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal, and we are specialized in destination services. So anybody who is kind of relocating, either domestic or internationally. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. So you handle people relocating in and out of Canada, is that right?
That's correct, yes. So we are looking, we are waiting, of course, that the border are opening and that the outbound is also coming to us, that Canadians are, slowly going to the United States or to other countries. But our main focus is coming to Canada.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Bianca from the Apartment Service, please.
Yes, I'm Bianca van der Zee. I'm Senior Consultant, Apartment Service Germany.
We are a consultancy for service apartments and temporary living in Germany, focused on the region of Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And we also have a booking platform for service apartments operators to connect them with corporate clients here in Germany. So my main task is actually issuing studies on feasibility together with Annette Gregorius, our founder, and we are really doing a lot of research work and industry and work in the industry a lot here in Germany to make service apartments even more popular than they are right now. So, yeah.
Fantastic, Bianca. And you also do Sew Apart, don't you? Is that happening this year online or?
Yes, like all the others, we have decided to do it in a hybrid way. So we are having a limited number of guests in Leipzig on our Sew Apart, which is a meeting point and a conference all about temporary living and new trends and facts and figures and new developments. And yes, we are meeting this year on the 11th and 12th of November again in Leipzig.
11th and 12th, you said, yeah?
And you can join us. You can join us actually online this time. Your German is good enough, Richard. You will understand everything.
No, that would be good. Great, thanks, Bianca. Eva and then Yolanda, please.
Hi, this is Eva. And first of all, I want to say thank you for being able to participate in Blue Room. It's a new thing, but I'm sure it's going to be a success. So it's going to be first time, but the best. Secondly, this is Eva, and I'm positive and energetic person. So it's difficult to find a positive person in these times, but here you have one. And then my company, we just have 30 rental apartments. We only have in Barcelona, and we don't have that many. We have serviced apartments, and we want to take care of them. And our focus is to offer quality, but not quantity. And then we only offer for the moment in Barcelona, this city that I love. And it's a very cultural, amazing city. Where to come, even with COVID.
How many properties do you have in Barcelona?
We have about 70. And then we have 60 that we mainly do short term. But then we combine with corporate. So nowadays, we are mainly focusing on corporate. It looks quite a lot, but there's people that have like 500. So we still have this human touch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's an interesting aspect. And I think we'll probably be coming on to that later on in the discussion. Generally speaking, with that. Yolanda, please, and then Jamie.
Thanks, Richard. So I'm Yolanda Blomlaus. I am country manager for the Benelux region for Situ Service Apartments. So we basically have 450,000 vetted service apartments across 116 countries, HQ being in Exeter, and I'm predominantly doing the Benelux region. So it's a fantastic team. I've recently joined a couple of months ago, and what we try and do is obviously give the personal service, but for the client to have a really good guest experience as well. Nice and easy system to use, and quick response times as well, which is what we're known for, and obviously our cheeriness as well. So yeah, that's it, Jim.
Great, thanks, Yolanda. Jamie, over to you, please.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Richard, for having us here today. I think this is a really good idea, and I think it will be very successful. I'm the Global Business Manager for Corporate Housing Associates. I handle all of our international outbound temporary housing. We're a global temporary housing company based in the Woodlands, Texas. We are GSA certified to handle government accounts, and we are a women-owned business, so we do a minority status as well. I do all of our outbound outside of the U.S. in all global markets for the past 20 years. It keeps us quite busy. We also have a destination service department called 5-Star Destination Services. We also do apartment locating within the state of Texas, and we also have a commercial and a residential real estate company. So we have 4 different divisions of our company.
Wow. Okay. I didn't realize that. And did you say there at the beginning that it was female owned? Did I understand that correctly?
The WEBE it's a big designation, probably globally, because a lot of companies are working for the diversity spend. They have so much allotted that they have to spend for minority status and diversity spend, and we're able to satisfy that with our designation.
That's interesting. I'd like to ask more about that, and maybe even do a blue room about that sort of company structure, ownership.
Yeah, it's a big designation here in the U.S. That along with military and disabled veteran is another big designation for your status.
Right. Interesting. Thank you. Well, thanks everybody for the introduction. So. I suppose I should say something a little bit about myself. So Richard Majewski, as a consultancy, we're a marketing consultant in the service department sector. Also run Saba networking events, used to be live. They're now Saba Wine Time. Please join us on Thursday at 5 o'clock London time. Drop me a message if you want to find out how to register for that. It's pretty uncomplicated. At this stage, I would like to thank the people that are logging on live, and also say please do send comments, questions, reactions to us, and let us interact, because that's what it's all about. And the people that are looking at the recordings, then please make comments. Polite comments about the recordings. I'd like to kind of go around the panel again, if I may, and examine because what we're talking about today really here is change recovery in the service department and corporate housing sectors in Europe and North America. I think if we were to concentrate on change first of all, please, and we've discussed this a lot at Saba, and of course I'm sure everybody has been discussing it a lot, but if we maybe talk about the changes in your own marketplace specifically, what have they been since March? How has it affected your country, even personally, even yourselves emotionally, because it's a pretty close thing, the economies and your businesses. So how has it affected you, your business, the economy? If we talk about that first of all, please, and then afterwards we'll do a quick Saba video, and afterwards we'll go back to say about how we're going to deal with those problems, those challenges going forward. Rebecca, if I may start with yourself, please, regarding the changes that you've noticed in your sector and business.
Absolutely. So when first Corona hit in Canada, I was actually still employed with a corporate housing provider. So I was the director of sales for Ottawa, and then later on for Toronto. And then I kind of jumped into my new venture with MyReader Solution, more into destination service, what was kind of planned already. So I'm talking about what I experienced beginning January, February, March. The first quarter of 2020 was very challenging, as I assume for everybody. So we experienced that pretty much after the government announced in March, that was kind of at the end of the March, the shutdown of the border, that at that moment travel stopped. So we had a lot of cancellations. a lot of people, a lot of movement, a lot of people went home. So we had a lot of travel, of course, to close to the United States. So we had a lot of students, a lot of corporates, a lot of people who were here in Ottawa or in Toronto, Vancouver. They actually left the big cities and went home. Then pretty much the only resumed business we had in that time, what kind of wrapped up about a month and two, was the government business. So what happened is that they actually came back. So everybody who was outside of Canada, at that time, Global Affairs, Immigration Canada, they brought all the ambassadors and all that stuff back here to Canada. So that gave us a little bit of a boost and a little bit of a help. Then later on, about a month or two, we had a little bit of a shifting in regards to local business slowly coming back. So at that time, we had a summer business rolling in. So pretty much everybody who was traveling within the country, because we weren't allowed to go out. So that was a huge shift in the business. We lost a lot of corporate business, of course, because everybody was stayed home. They weren't allowed to travel. So at that time, there was a lot of things going on, a lot of challenges, a lot of restructuring, trying to figure out how we can help travelers, cancellation policies and all that jazz, what comes with it. We were trying really to help people to get home, or especially we had a lot of travelers who may even get stuck here. That was another challenge because we may or may not had already sold the apartments. So we were just really juggling also the travelers who got stuck. Some of the other, and I just want to point this out here, some of the other bigger cities, Vancouver, Toronto, up to the East Coast, also Montreal at that time, they struggled more, but they were able to kind of recoup in the summertime. So that was a little bit that was at the end encouraging, because we, like, you know, the inbound travel was really picking up, and we were able to sell at that point. Currently, as I mentioned before, it's a very encouraging time for us, because the government just announced that family travel, student travel will resume at the end of October. So this is very encouraging, because I feel that we're slowly, as a country, actually be able to handle the healthcare system with the cases and also the travel. Travel has to resume. The industry has been hit very hard in every single country. So it's time that we are finding ways to help our industry, the service apartment, the hotel industry, you know, other sectors, to actually recoup. I know it's not going to be as normal as it has been, but it's it's very encouraging that we are seeing little dips here and there, that we're able to actually look forward in 2021.
That is quite encouraging, actually, isn't it? I'll come on some of those points afterwards. Bianca, please, if you could summarize what it's been like in Germany up till now.
There's so many areas you can talk about. Your personal experience with not going to the office anymore and staying at home and doing your work from your home office, to the two aspects of business we actually have in Germany with our company, that is once the consultancy, which changed a lot, but it was steady. We had work all the time, and this is very, very good to know, and gave us a good confidence actually to get through this pandemic. But the worst we actually experienced, of course, was on our booking platform, our agency, our central reservation team. They really suffered a lot because of a lot of cancellations during that time, and we actually, I think, experienced all the same situation with regards to the economy. Of course, the borders were closed. the hospitality branch was really down. Nobody actually traveled for a long time. So as Rebecca said, there were a lot of people stranded. There were key workers staying in our apartments, people that couldn't get home and still had to work here, and they stayed. So in general, when it comes to the operators, it wasn't so bad. They were quite pessimistic in the beginning of the pandemic, but we did another survey in September now, and they were actually quite okay with it. So they have an occupancy about 64% right now. They have a good average rate, €73. Of course, RevPAR is not recovering so soon because the occupancy is not there yet, and business travel is really slow in returning. But we can see positive developments here. So we are quite positive that things will get better, but the forecasts are still, it's difficult to say what will happen in winter time, especially as we have a second peak, obviously, of coronavirus in Germany. We have new regulations since yesterday. We are all a bit irritated because we're actually a federal republic, but our federal states, everyone is doing whatever they want, and they can't agree. So this makes it rather difficult. And but if you have to actually quarantine, if I would go shopping in Berlin Mitte, I actually had to quarantine because I'm in Brandenburg now, so I'm living in the suburban area of Berlin. And this is ridiculous. More or less, there will be a situation when I go to the office that I actually have to quarantine afterwards. So this is really stupid. I think, as I said, our service apartment providers are actually okay with the situation. They were lucky with their focus on long stay. What is really getting hard in autumn and winter is our hotel branch. Our hotels, especially in Germany and especially in Berlin, just cried out yesterday and said, okay, this will be horrible. We had a pause in the obligation to declare bankruptcy in the last 6 months, and now you are obliged again. So a lot of companies and a lot of hotels won't survive winter time. So when it comes to our business and our segment, we are actually thumbs up. Everything is okay. We're gonna get through it if it's not getting worse again. But the complete industry, the hospitality industry, is still suffering a lot. And I think we were a little scared actually what will happen in winter time. No Christmas markets, no conferences, no fairs, no travel. Nobody knows.
Exactly. Really, when we're talking about forecasts and everything, that it seems to change daily, doesn't it? And that's the point with the different states in Germany, within Germany, and we think it's confusing with the United Kingdom, with England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. But like you said, you've got different rules throughout Germany, which makes it complicated. What's it like in Spain? Say that again, please, Bianca.
No, I said that they are quite similar, but they are different everywhere. So yes, it's really difficult. And sometimes, if it comes to Scotland, if you're coming from Scotland now, you have to quarantine. If you're coming from London, you haven't. So this is.
That's really right. Ridiculous. I mean, we've got relatives, to be honest. They live in Munich, but they work in Saarland. And they've got a similar situation regarding quarantine and moving around. Ava, what's it like in Spain, please? And then I suppose Barcelona in particular, is it? I mean, can you divide Spain? Because Madrid's a case by itself, is it? Or is Barcelona just?
Madrid is hit hard now. But to start with the whole picture, I agree with Rebecca and Bianca. Situation has been very complicated and similar in Barcelona, but I tend to forget all these things, which is good. What I can say is that, yes, we had lots of cancellations. It was so complicated. Everything was changing every day. But at the end of the day, we had lots of opportunities. And then, for example, we could offer apartments for free for medical people. We have been able to spend time with our kids, quality time, which at the end of the day, it's a present. Also, I feel very sorry for the people that has been hit because of health, because there's lots of people. But we are lucky to say that in our company, in our family, we haven't had any case that we know. So this is positive. And this gave us the opportunity to look it in an open way. And so we have worked a lot on new protocols, cleaning, hygienic. We have adapted ourselves and learned a lot. And one of the amazing things we have done is to connect to Saba Wine Time Thursday. And this gave us the opportunity to see not only in Barcelona, but what's happening also in Germany, in Canada, and everywhere, which is amazing. And then we had many ideas, like we worked a lot with corporate, and thanks to many ideas in Saba, for example, we are looking for also contractors, which we didn't work before. This is an example of opportunities that we have had. Bianca also said they tried to do like workspaces in the apartments. And so there are so many ideas and we're working on them. Some are working better, but a little of each thing makes us have a positive and open mind towards what's happening and what will come. Also, the last but not least, I would say that Corona has impacted all of us, and I think we should all think about how we face life. And as Rebecca said, we got ready for this call after a few months, no? Why? Honestly, she said,
I know it was different to put on proper makeup again after so many months being at home. Yeah, I had a good laugh this morning. My husband is like, "What's going on today?
Right, what are you doing?" But then this gives us, hey, let's live in passion. I do it once, but I do it very well, and I'm going to do it slowlier and enjoy it. So this is leading us to, whenever we talk to the positive and the future, but slow travel, I would say. Done.
What was that last bit? What did you say the last bit was, Eva, please? What travel?
To go to slow sustainability. So I would say we get less business, but let's do it more quality.
Exactly. Yeah, nice one. Okay. Yolanda, please, over to you.
Thanks, Richard. Yeah, so again, like everyone, we were badly hit as well. Very different things. Either extensions were done because people couldn't go home. If you looked at the Benelux region, you know, the border between Belgium and Netherlands closed off really quickly, then within Germany, because nobody quite knew what was going on. And it seems like in the beginning, I don't know if you agree, you know, the governments of every country, nobody quite knew what to do because nobody's ever been impacted by this. So there is a lot of clarity as well, but clarity is missing from restrictions and precautions, which sort of feels from over these last 6 months that clients are sort of looking to see what other clients are doing before they actually do something. And then you have the larger companies like Google who are encouraging the working from home until the end of the year. But then again, we also had clients who unfortunately got stuck and needed to have extensions as well. And obviously a very not a nice time for someone to go through. Their families are far away, their partners may be living in a different country, they don't know when they're going to see their kids. But then you also have the other side where trips are being postponed, and it sort of felt like within a week everything was either cancelled, postponed, or we were extending. This has hit every single person in the whole world. And even now, you know, we're getting stricter and stricter restrictions here in the Netherlands. And we have to wear mouth caps, then we don't, then we do. There's just a lot of clarity missing over here. And then the borders are going to be shut off, and then it's a bank holiday here. So then for one day they can't come over the border with Germany. So it's a little bit everywhere. But I have to say, the one really nice thing, I shouldn't say, but the positive that's come out of Corona is that relationship building with your clients. I actually found that a lot of clients are actually re-evaluating their travel as well, because everything is put on hold. I mean, I'm sure as salespeople, many a times been on a call going, no, don't have time right now, don't have time. And now, you know, everyone's in the same boat. It's like, how are you dealing with Corona? It's not a sales pitch, it's actually getting to know the people. And I actually really love it, because you sort of see their home, like my home over here in the Netherlands. And it gives you a little bit of an idea of the personality of that particular client. Or all of a sudden you have a little puppy come through, or a cat goes through, or children are going, Mummy, I want to be in the picture, you know, which is a little bit uncomfortable, but actually a really nice icebreaker as well. And I found that I've definitely built up accounts, you know, even more, and getting an idea of what's happening across the world, you know. And this is why I love the Sabaz networking events we have on Thursdays, because we can find out what's happening in Canada, what's happening in Texas, in Barcelona, in Germany, Netherlands, of course, which I think is very important for us. And one of the things I noticed people were doing more, so for example, when we had Euro, that was obviously supposed to be in Seville this year, and they ended up doing an online webinar. They postponed it obviously until next year, but they did a 3-day online webinar, which was really, really interesting. A very different way to network, but still great for knowledge, and actually building up your network as well. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. And obviously in the beginning as well, unfortunately people had to be put on furlough. You know, I think some people were expecting it to be a little blip, a couple of months, but it seems like the vaccinations are much further away. We're, you know, getting involved with surveys. Some surveys are saying recovery should be 2021. We have some surveys saying 2023. You know, so I think everyone is a little bit up in the air with what's going to happen. But, you know, this is also a time for us to help each other, and not necessarily see each other as competitors, but also help each other, because everyone is going through a tough time. And by building up your network, you know, I've had much help in the last 6 months as well. Or you have a particular supplier who may have to close down a whole building, because that's obviously cheaper for them to do than to keep on. And just those words of support as well, which normally would be like, oh, whatever. You know, it actually means something this time, because people are losing their jobs. You know, people, imagine, I hate to say it, but imagine the number of divorces that are going to come out of here as well, you know. But then again, you've got time with your family, which is, you know, which you can't put money on. But then you have loneliness as well from if you're living all by yourself. So there's many aspects of it, but like Ava, I'm super positive as well. So I always try and see the best in every situation, but it would definitely shape every single person in this world into a different person. And it's up to us whether it's going to be positive or negative. And I choose for positive.
Amen to that.
So
Thanks, Yolanda. Over to you, Jamie. It's not going to be easy to top that positivity, but over to you.
Especially everything that's been going on here in the U.S. You know, from February on, we were having the best year we've ever had with our company. Our company started in 2005, and we were just knocking it out of the park as of February. I handle all global locations outside the U.S., so the requests were coming in, and the first case of corona hit the U.S. on the West Coast, and it spread like wildfire, and they pretty much shut all the borders down, and then the borders started to close globally, worldwide. Whereas I and my team are different than my other coworkers. They handle national throughout the U.S., where I handle everything outside. So when all the borders closed, my business ended instantly. I work mostly with RMCs, relocation management companies. So when all that stopped, we were still getting requests, but they were kind of fill you out requests, and then they would get pushed back till July, September. They did the stimulus package here in the U.S., which was $2.5 trillion. That was a bailout for all the small companies, which saved us. We were in dire need as well as everyone else, with the hospitality industry just going in the tank. That really helped guarantee payrolls for all employees for 2 months, which gave everyone a little bit of time to breathe and see what was going on with the virus. But as things progressed inside the U.S., the borders didn't close from state to state. So when the stimulus packages and all that money was coming to fruition, and the banks were trying to dole out the money to all these different companies, the banking industry was exploding. So the requests for all the banking industries that we handle just went through the roof. So those requests for temporary housing are just coming in steady. So our domestic teams, as well as the contractors, because everything that they were doing had to be rearranged to be COVID friendly. Everything had to be spaced out. The hospitals had to space beds, they had to make new beds. So the contractors' business was increasing dramatically as well, which was helping us sustain from the loss from the corporate relocations internationally. But as time went by, we slowly started to get a feel of the virus, and I think people were weighing their options. It gave you an option to do you want to take this risk or do you not, basically. So I think a lot of business travels and all the meetings that I was in with all the different RMCs basically indicated that the relocation season was going to continue, but it was just going to go later in the year. It was going to happen later, and then it was going to extend into the later in the year. Mid-November was the projection that I heard from everybody. And that seems to be the case. We've picked up, requests are flying for all different countries now. I think they're trying to get as much in as quick as possible. We just recently had the airline industry affected terribly, and they're trying to do a bailout for the airline industry. They just laid off, I think, 135,000 people yesterday, where President Trump came in and said, we weren't going to do another stimulus package. We're going to try and wait till after the election. But with all those layoffs, he tweeted out last night that he's going to come back to the table, and it looks like they're going to pass a $135 billion package for the airline industry and another $25 billion for guaranteeing paychecks to continue, as well as a $1,200 per person stimulus that's supposed to go out. So we're hanging in there. I'm sure inflation next year is going to be through the roof with all the printing of all this money, but we're doing well. Our destination services is really growing quickly. I, like all you other, had extensions immediately. I had people stuck in Zurich and Central America that couldn't go back to Brazil. So the extensions happened immediately. We were getting 6-month extensions and all the people that were trapped. I had a woman in Zurich that came back to the U.S. during COVID and got trapped here in the U.S. So she had an apartment in Zurich for 6 months that she couldn't get back to. So we basically had to go in. We had to get all our important documents that she needed and have them all shipped back to the U.S. and as much as we could have shipped back. We couldn't ship back any of her makeup. You can't. and apparently she had about $2,000 worth of makeup. Yeah, because I was like, well, maybe your company will reimburse you for the makeup. She's like, you don't understand. But that we had a company come in and move everything they could, and then we had a second company come in and try to get her personal belongings. But we ended up having her pack up everything, and their coworkers took it. We did have our first case of COVID this week in one of our international apartments. So I was able to go through the whole process of quarantine, what that entails, and actually put it into effect. So I think that was really, really positive for our company to actually go through experience. Although it was horrible that one of our guests contracted COVID, we were able to go through the whole process, and it was very tight. Everything we had got together and had meetings about for the past 2 months, everything worked like clockwork. So I think it's a testament to being proactive and being prepared. But everything's looking very positive now. I like you guys, a very positive, half full, half glass full type of guy. So I like to keep positive. And I told you, Richard, that the sports would be the first thing back. Yeah. When all this started, I said there's too much money in the NFL and the NBA and the MLB, and they were the first ones to come back. So we are excited to have our sports, though.
You did indeed say that. I didn't believe you at the time, Jamie, as you know, kind of thing, because I was very uncertain about that because of the spectator sport aspect. But yeah, it's
the gambling behind. There's so much more behind just the sport. The agents, the gambling that goes on behind it. There's just a lot in there, and I figure with it being a multi-billion-dollar industry, that would be the first to boom back. Plus we want our sport.
Yeah.
We want our sports.
Yeah, and the health.
Agreed.
It definitely. Thank you very much, everyone. That's very, very interesting, and I think that probably one of the things we can get from all of that is how it's almost a universal experience globally. That we've all been going through such similar experiences. And if I were to briefly comment on the UK, it did hit us really as a shock at the beginning. A lot of people were furloughed. The worry being then that the people on furlough might not be re-employed, and especially in the hospitality sector. Some developments did open because they couldn't really not open, and others were cancelled. We saw number of bookings fall through the ground, obviously, but the general trend in bookings was fewer bookings but longer stays. International corporates, as we know, not traveling. They can't find any planes because they're all gone, but they wouldn't want to travel anyway, not nearly as much as they were doing. And domestic corporates kind of being careful. It's a funny old world and a shared experience, really. I think if we take a break, a 30-second break now, we'll run a Saba video and then come back and maybe talk about how we go forward really from here. So let's see if this video works any better than the first one. Fingers crossed, everyone.
It was good.
That was quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't find my space. I was looking for my face.
You must have been there somewhere, Eva.
It should.
Did it actually run? Was it visible?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was nice.
I see it. I saw it.
Yeah.
It wasn't 30 seconds.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, well, welcome back, everyone. So yeah, generally speaking, grim old world since March. We've all, as we've been saying, really, but we found ourselves in lockdown, and now the governments are trying to avoid the lockdown as much, another lockdown as much as possible. Although certainly in the UK, the number of cases is going through the roof. Manchester, Liverpool, Nottingham were particularly bad. And I guess it's fair to say it coincides with students' return to their campuses. Research was saying that the return of the children to school actually didn't have any significant effect. I don't know how they measured that one, but yeah, I mean, then what do we do going forward, and what's the main issue? I think for all of, so we've seen this a situation. I hate that word pivot, so I'm going to try not to use it, but we've seen a pivot from corporates into the contractors, and a significant one, both for agents and for operators, and almost a new marketplace, familiarizing with a new marketplace, a different way of making bookings, potentially more last minute bookings. There's also been, for me at least, I've seen a percentage wise an increase in relocation bookings. So that is something which is kind of supporting, I think, a lot of operators with the contractors. It's trust, isn't it? It's trust and confidence that the corporates need to return to travel and to return to moving around. Plus, as Bianca said not long ago at Asaba, it's the budgets that these people have got, that they're suffering themselves. Financially, the businesses. So we've seen, pharmaceuticals, government, energy companies, all quite so healthy and supporting our businesses. But just generally, we need to build up the trust, sanitation in the properties, the opportunity to or ability to physically distance from each other. And we're very lucky, I think, that we have a business model, an accommodation model that we are working with, which is perhaps has an advantage over hotels. I don't mean this in any unkind way about the hotel sector, but we can offer a distancing opportunity, which, whilst our businesses might not have the marketing clout that the big brands have to advertise the safety of the sanitation, we can offer a product that is obviously allows that social distancing. There's been a move as well, I think, hasn't there, to encourage how we can encourage guests to return with being more flexible with the cancellation policies. Let's come on to that actually, because Jamie, I think it was last week or the week before, you mentioned a kind of a 0 day or a zero cancellation policy, almost expectation with some guests. And I suppose what Yolanda can relate to a lot right now is she looks worried, is a increase in pet friendly. The last 2 bookings that I've taken from accommodation that's a run is they've wanted pets in the accommodation. So that's been a real increase. So yeah, I don't know. Should we go through around the panel and saying really how you feel that you maybe 1 point, 2 points on where you feel that you as a business would home in to do as well as possible in the coming months. The opportunities that are there, because as a panel have said, really, there are great opportunities that exist with all these downs, with all the situation that we're in.
I think there's a bit of a trade-off, Richard, with the landlords, mortgages, financing to vehicles. All those different areas have been quite lenient with payments. The landlords, mortgages, they're giving mortgage free for like 4 months. where people don't pay mortgages. They're doing several months on car notes and loans. But what happens when we get into the next year when that forgiveness is not forgiven anymore? When mortgages are starting to come due, landlords are wanting their rent, tenants aren't able to pay, but they're not guaranteeing their rent anymore, where they can't be evicted. So I think the next quarter could be quite challenging in that aspect. But the increase in the business is definitely a plus. So it'll make up for a lot. But I'm kind of curious in the aspect in the first quarter what those three things will take its toll on people.
Yeah, that's right. Things coming back to roost, really, aren't they? Same with the loans.
We had landlords that dipped their rents for us for a couple months, but at some point that's going to end, and I have a feeling the first quarter is going to be where a lot of that's going to end.
Yeah, I must agree.
I had a situation where I was actually due to fly to Prague on a personal night, to take my parents for their 40th wedding anniversary. So we'd planned a nice fun weekend in June, but obviously COVID hit, and I'd actually booked an apartment which was non-refundable. So I was thinking, oh my goodness, quite a large amount that you're not going to get back. And I was really pleasantly surprised by the supplier being so flexible, going, look, we can't obviously refund you, but we can change your date to, end of the year or next year. So hopefully, to be safe, I waited a year. So I'm hoping by that time, Karina will have gone. But then if I look at the airline, I booked with Czech Airlines and nothing. Just don't know what is going on. So now and then you'll get an email saying it's still in process. We'll see how it goes. So everyone is dealing with it differently. And I actually think the suppliers who've handled this well and actually been more flexible than what their terms have said will come out of this in a much better light as well. And sometimes it's the smaller suppliers where you don't expect it from, because if you have 10 apartments or you're very small, that's a huge impact on your revenue as well. But I was quite pleasantly surprised with the flexibility as well that has come through, as well as going forward, because obviously the people that are booking the travel, they're saying, obviously we don't know what's going on with the restrictions, so we just need a bit more flexibility. I haven't had the flexible 24 hours, but sort of 7 days is what my clients are asking for, which suppliers have been really good with, to be honest, because it's better to have some business than nothing at all. So I really, really hope we don't get a second lockdown, because things are looking up. The requests are coming in, but I noticed that sometimes it's a bit of a longer lead period, and the length of stay is longer as well. So you can actually see with business travel, instead of having 2-3 days on a business trip, yes, they're working from home, but if they have to go out, they tend to be longer. So they may stay a week to compensate for 3 business trips, for example, like we would do beforehand.
And we're getting more requests for more bedrooms because they're working from home, so they want that second bedroom, a study or an office.
Yeah. In general, I would say as a final operator, the services, we doing the same, Yolanda. We get the confidence of the customer. We give the flexibility. It's true that it affects a lot our revenue and our business, but long term, we have the customer forever. And as you say, we offer, second room. We can have the pet. We can have the kids. So it's a family thing, because most of the people now is just thinking, and hopefully this will come soon, as you are saying, recovery is coming and people is flying and still fine. So we hope that this keeps on going further, and then people has the confidence to come. And what they are looking for is not only a place where to sleep, a place where to live, where to work, where to share, and also then a place where they can move around. So I completely agree. Cancellation has come down or even 100% flexible, because at the end of the day, and we were very afraid not to change that, but we have changed it to 0. And people doesn't cancel because of no reason. So you get more confidence from the customers.
Well, I think a good point is that the relocation industry usually ends in September because of the children are going back to school. But with most of the people doing school for their children virtually, it's making it easier for these employees to keep relocating through into the end of the year, where normally they would have to get somewhere, be in the school district where their children need to go to school, buy a house in that district so they could go to that school. Where now with most people doing virtual schooling, I think it's allowing an easier transition going through the end of the year, because their kids can virtual learn from anywhere. So they can learn from their old location, or when they move, they can learn from the new location. So it's not affecting the relo season as much because they don't have to enroll in the school physically being there in their district. So I think that's kind of helping things out as well. Yeah,
you can choose whatever you want to be working, either overseeing the sea or looking to the mountain. Yeah.
Well, for my case, I have to say, sorry, Richard, I just want to bring one point up, and I have to go back to that. What helped me the most is actually when I first started with Sava Wine Time at the time, is actually seeing and hearing best practices, hearing from other people around the world, because Corona did not happen just at once. It kind of was a smooth transition from country to country. So you could see actually colleagues around the world, and that's what I mostly enjoy about our time together every week, where you can hear, again, best practices, what works, what doesn't work, what are the clients responding. We have to have, as Eva mentioned, we have to have the positive attitude, the confidence, the knowledge to bring to our client, as Yolanda mentioned as well before. We have to stay positive. We have to make the change to be able to bring it to the customer. The customer needs to feel comfortable. The customer needs to understand what the situation is. And my main focus also on our business is actually the education about what's going on, because we are here to support and to help them. And education is a major part. And how can we educate if we don't educate ourselves about the situation?
That's interesting. By the way, any Facebook viewers, I'm not sure how it's going to work. So we've got 2 minutes on a scheduled time. Forgive me, people who are watching this, if it suddenly cuts out. I don't know what's going to happen. Right. So yeah, that's very interesting. We're getting a lot closer to the guests. We're talking about the offices, families, larger units being demanded. And early on in the COVID crisis, and I think it was yourself, Yolanda, that you highlighted this kind of approach towards dealing with the clients as being kind of a softer approach, is keeping in touch with people, really. And I think that end-to-end service as well, that somebody mentioned, and you did today, Eva, a kind of like that slow travel approach that you mentioned, where we're just being a lot more perhaps attentive. And it makes me wonder then the impact that it will have on the OTAs there, and people love them, but they provide a service. But it's something that I think that you mentioned, Rebecca. It was, are we going to be going to a more local kind of service? Or should we be offering, not in terms of the clients, but working locally with other businesses to tie in, to offer a more of a package and work together on referrals?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the future. It's going to be the future. I think it's going to be globally. You have to think in different ways. It's not a straight way anymore. It has to be around. You have to find your way as a service provider, furnished housing, as a management company, as a company itself, as a person. You have to change your ways. You cannot go just one way. I think being in the situation Nobody faced, in my lifetime, I haven't faced such situation. I have faced 2008, 2010 with, the hospitality going down. I worked for many hotels in Germany at the time. That was also a hard situation. But this magnitude, COVID, I think everybody was just trying to really understand what's going on, and nobody was ever in that situation, and really trying to, understand where we're going, what's coming to us, and we have to make changes. I think if you don't change, you're not going to survive.
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
I wanted to emphasize, actually, would like to pay my respect to every provider who adapted so quickly to the situation. Mm-hmm. The hotels and our service apartment providers were so engaged to do it very quickly, to take care of the hygiene topics and everything. And this is really, you can negotiate about almost everything, except the price probably sometimes. But in general, you can ask whatever client we have and say, okay, we have a family here, we have a covered budget, so can you do it for the amount of money? And a lot of providers are really flexible and friendly and welcoming, because there are not so many guests on the market. So in general, I think we have a change of concepts probably. We are talking about a lot of contactless check-ins, contactless bookings, apps to use as a key, and all these things. So there is a change in our market and our concepts. And this is really an important aspect, because now we are dealing with a situation that came as a crisis, but it probably will stay. We never know if it goes away or if it will stay. So for now, we are looking for solutions, and I think they were really flexible with small breakfast baskets. Especially the breakfast is not something that's so usual in an apartment with service where you can cook and prepare your breakfast for yourself. But a lot of apart hotels are just having smaller buffets, or they create plates, and you can. So they found solutions, and this is the most important thing. Like you said, we adapt and we come out of it probably a little better than we were before, a little different. And
exactly,
this is quite good.
I actually had a really interesting one when I went away to Maastricht, which is south of Holland. I actually stayed in an apartment where they put a sticker on the door which says you are the first to enter the room following a deep clean. So unless you open the door, that's when it rips. So you are the last person to have actually gone in there, which really does help people. And you were just talking about the buffet, the breakfast side of things, Bianca, and this, they did brilliantly, because you had to book specific times. You had to wear gloves. You could only go to certain sectors of of the breakfast area. You're seated 2 tables away from each other. I mean, it's very clever, and it is going to be the new normal, in my opinion. And this is probably going to sound awful, but I actually quite enjoy having personal space, now with all of the restrictions of 1.5 meters and 2 meters. So, I think it does bring its perks as well, which probably I shouldn't say, but I definitely, I think we'll be seeing this for a long, long time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, interesting. Sorry, Jamie, go on.
I was just going to say, has anyone else had the insurance type of insurance industry work take off this year? Here in the U.S., we've had unprecedented storms. We're on the second. We've passed the alphabet for the hurricanes, and now we're on to Delta's coming into shore tomorrow, and it was the fastest growing storm in history. It went from a tropical storm to a Category 4 in 20 hours, which is unheard of, 140-mile-an-hour wind. So we've had through the alphabet. Now we're going through the second round. We're on Delta, but poor Louisiana and Texas, they're just getting riddled. But we've just had, with the fires in California and Portland, I mean, thousands and thousands of acres burning. We've had unprecedented disasters this year on top of COVID, on top of it being an election year, on top of all the social injustice things that's going on throughout the U.S. that's caused riots and chaos. And so it's been an interesting year. I'm just curious if anyone else, if the insurance industry has served anyone else as well as it has us.
I think for Canada itself, I'm expecting a very strong winter this year. So they're predicting already very strong winter. So that means a lot of power shortages. We hadn't had a lot of tornadoes, what we had last year and the year before. So there were a lot of tornadoes even here. But we got, as you mentioned, from California into Vancouver, we got a lot of, the weather changed. Like we got, dark skies and red and pollution, and that affected the Vancouver, the West Coast especially. But I think we may have some impact in the winter time as we had last year as well with St. John.
Right.
So the winter time is going to show here in Canada where we are hitting for this year. So I think there's going to be a big impact for sure.
Wasn't it like 3 years ago, Rebecca, that one province almost burnt down completely in Canada?
Yeah, BC, Fort McMurray up there. Yeah, Fort McMurray. And then we had also not just that, we had also the tornadoes. And I have to say for Ottawa, where I live currently, we had in September, we had tornado, I think 4 of them. And I was with my dog in the dog park at the time. So I got really scared. And then we heard in the radio when we drove away from it, we heard the sirens and we saw the tornado on the other side of the river in Gatineau where it really hit hard. And the day after, I think we did not sleep. I think my office did not sleep for 2 weeks. We were so bombarded with requests because they had to relocate. And I had a client, my last client at the time when it hit them really hard, I think they left over a year ago. Oh, wow. Means it took them over a year even to get contractors, and especially because it hit in the fall, because all the construction was delayed due to the winter, because they cannot build in the winter. It's too harsh. It's like -40. There is no way they can build. So it's really challenging. So it took them almost a year and a half to actually get into the house. It hasn't been finished. Like the house was literally not even been finished. But they moved back because it was easier for them. But that was hard for a lot of people, for a lot of families at the time in Fort McMurray up there and other areas. Yeah, when it hits hard here, it hits hard.
Talking about the rainfall, the storms and everything, we a couple of years ago, I think it was, we introduced it into the UK. But we don't have those kind of things like hurricanes. So we've got to, with typical British understatement, we do stuff like, rather heavy rainfall. And I think we're on to like rather heavy rainfall Matthew or something like that. Now, we do something though. I don't know what it is, but I remember once being in Florida, it's Tropical Storm Bob or something. And I never experienced anything like it. No, but yeah, insurance is a particular one. There is one fairly big agent in the UK that deals with that specialises in insurance for serviced accommodation. I guess we need to kind of start wrapping it up a little bit, both for yourselves and for the viewers. I'll just go through some of those recent comments, and then I'll come back in case anybody wants to say anything in particular. But where are we now? Good afternoon from Malaga, the apartment service. Abadi, if you're still there, hiya. You just need to download that app next time so we can see actually the name. But thanks for tuning in. Francine from VIP Corporate Housing. Basically, yeah, Francine, you're right. There was a common experience, and it seems to be the overriding kind of deduction here.
And Francine's awesome. I see Francine at every webinar. So you talk about one of the really great corporate housing executives that's in on everything. Francine's in on everything. So thank you, Francine.
Yes, Good one. Thank you. And then another one that came out of Facebook again. If we use the app, then, or I think you have to kind of give it approval to Facebook to access StreamYard. But thank you for that very optimistic message, which matches our panel really, which is it is a challenge, but if we work together, then we can crack it. So I'm going to try something now, which by the way, before I do this, does anybody want to say anything else, comment on anything?
Well, thanks for having us, Richard. Appreciate it. It felt like around the kitchen table, So the hour went like this.
Right, I'm going to take everybody off the. I'll take people off the stage and then put you back on one by one, just to give a kind of a farewell opportunity to say farewell. I don't know if this will work at all. Just a minute. So there you go, Eva. Well, I would like to say thank you. Thank you to yourself. Thank you to everyone who are now backstage. Can you hear me backstage actually still?
I do.
No, I don't think they can.
I don't know the others.
Eva, if you want to do a final wave.
Just thank you so much for the opportunity. There's lots to talk. At Saba Wine Time, we talk a lot about all these things, insurance, type of regulations, what governments are doing. So it's so interesting. In an hour, we cannot touch all the subjects, but it's true that we have to face the future. And even if COVID stays forever or whatever other situations, as Bianca said, we are quick reacting, and it's amazing that we can all help each other to overcome it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Eva. That's very good. Thank you. So, Rebecca, over to you just for a final spotlight and wave and any final comments.
I heard you in the background, in the back room. So just as a feedback. Yes, we did. I just want to say thank you also for organizing this event, and of course DiSaba. I learned a lot, as I mentioned before. I really like the educational part, because that's very important to me. I think that we all have to learn. It's different times, new times, and as Yolanda mentioned before, I really like to stay positive, and hopefully we can turn things around for next year.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you very much. Yeah. It's a kind of a funny one, really. Just putting, I think it works. So yeah, final focus on yourself.
Yes, you're very professional with all the techniques.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. It's an interesting new format, and it's always interesting in Saba Wine Time to compare the situations in the different countries. And I would love to support you with it. And well, see you next time then.
Thank you, Bianca. Thanks very much. So.
Well, thank you, Richard. I really appreciate
you're on the stage.
Yeah. No, I really enjoy Saba Wine Time every Thursday afternoon. I think it really shows insights to what's going on around the world. Since I handle everything outside of the U.S., I can get a feel for what's going on in different countries. I also like the camaraderie from the service apartment industry. It's great people, and it's always a positive thing to join, and I always leave with some knowledge and feeling better about the day and the foreseeable future.
And that's it, isn't it, really? Thanks, Jamie, for that. And yeah, that's it, really, isn't it? Because it's been a hard hit, and just to feel better, then we can serve all of our respective businesses better. So yes. Yeah, indeed. All right, thanks for that. Just good. Whoops, Yolanda, there you go. Hi, Yolanda. Yes. Yeah, over to you, but don't dare say thank you. I didn't mean this focus as being people saying thank you to me, so it's embarrassing like crazy. So don't.
No, it's been really, really good. So it's been a very successful first Blue Room. Excited to have been part of it. So thank you very much for organising it and inviting me to be a speaker. And again, you know, this is an extension of Saba wine nights on a Thursday late afternoon. So definitely worth going on those. You know, really good to see what's going on across the whole world, to be honest with you. It's so nice that, you know, we have Rebecca from Canada and obviously Jamie from Texas being able to come in as well. So finding out a bit about that, because you never know when a company extends itself across the world. So it's good to know beforehand, but it's been amazing. And obviously if anyone listening wants to be a supplier for situ service departments, please do send me a request on LinkedIn, Yolanda Blomhuis, and then we can connect. And the same for any clients who are looking for accommodation worldwide. So thank you, Richard. It's been amazing.
No, exactly, indeed. And I'd like to kind of support that by saying, so obviously Situ and Yolanda, and then all the other panelists, please make contact with them. I will just bring them, in fact, all back onto the stage for a final cheerio. And then hang on.
You should continue the wine time at the end.
Just talk about it. You ready?
Just skipping the water, you know.
Love your big cup
I'm not
of coffee,
ready.
Jamie.
It's 9:17 a.m. It's 9 in the morning.
Okay. I would like to say so thank you, by the way, Sarah and Francine, for your comments just now, and really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for all the panelists again, and hopefully we'll meet again on some of these Blue Rooms. But thank you for supporting this first Blue Room. The years and years ago, there was some research that I read regarding public speaking, and that people fear it more than death. And I was in that. I was like that before this, because although we did the Zoom on with Saba Wine Time, I wasn't quite sure how this was going to go, and so I'll feel a little bit more confident next time round. And so thank you for your own contributions that all make me feel confident going forward with this. So let's do a final wave to the people watching on the recordings as well, and thank you once more.
Bye bye.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.